Good morning, everybody. Welcome to our webinar. Glad you could come. We are presenting on the assistive technology, the latest and greatest of 2013. In our humble opinion, everyone is different. My name is Debbie Drennan, and next to me is...
I'm Janet Nunez.
And we both work at Parents Helping Parents in the iTECH Center. For those who are not familiar with Parents Helping Parents, it has a library, we have an education department, we provide trainings for parents as well as professionals, and a multitude of support groups. And within our iTECH Center, which is our Assistive Technology Demonstration Center, we have a signature service that we have called a Techsploration. And that is an opportunity for parents, professionals, clients to come in and actually try out different tools in a specific area or areas to see what's out there and what might work for them. We also do provide assistive technology loan kits for Parents Helping Parents members. And we are a center for several different product groups. Don Johnston, Prolico to Go, Therapy Box, Crick. So we do have their products here that they provide us so that we can show others what's out there with them. We do provide information and referral. Just give us a call or send us an email. We do lots of trainings and consultations for different groups. And we have a program here called Technology for Infants and Preschoolers, which is vendorized by the regional centers here at California. And of course, we're a member of the AT network.
We also have a contract through the Department of Rehabilitation for the state of California.
That's true. Yeah, we do have that as well.
And maybe you could tell us a little bit more about the loan kits.
Okay, well again, they're only available for Parents Helping members through our library. And it is recommended that if you're unfamiliar with the tools that you have a Techsploration first so that you're aware of what's in the kits. And we have several different kits available. We have low-tech toolkits for learning disabilities for K through 4th grade, as well as kits for 5th through 12th. We have a math low-tech kit. We have a LiveScribe pen kit. We have a low-tech communication kit, and we have early literacy kits that are in both Spanish and English.
And these are the only tools that we have available for loan. We are not a device lending library except for these toolkits that we have available through our PHP library.
Exactly. So hopefully today we hope to provide you, help you become familiar with some of the latest advances in assistive technology in these following areas: safety, iPad accessories, digital text and universal design, alternative computer access, and what's coming up, what's the cool stuff that's coming out there, and how that might apply to individuals with disabilities. And at the very end, we want to hear what you found. We want to know what you may have found that we did not talk about that you find really interesting and why.
Okay, Deb. Well, speaking of safety, I have a mother with Alzheimer's and a son with autism, and I worry about them wandering away.
Yes.
I'm wondering what's new on the market in the area of tracking devices.
Yeah, that's a real big concern, isn't it? Especially with that horrible tragedy that just happened in Northern California. Yeah. There is something out there now called the GPS bracelet. And it's a bracelet that conveys a GPS position to a location center, a centralized location center. And it alerts the center when the wearer of that bracelet is outside of a safe zone, which is set up by the care providers. And when that GPS location is outside of that safe zone, then the location center notifies the care providers that that person is outside the safety zone so that they can take immediate action. And it continues to track where that individual is so that they can be found. These are costly. Urgency's GPS bracelet is $499 to purchase, plus you have to buy a monthly service plan. But it can be life-saving if that's something you need.
Okay, that might be helpful. I also heard something about a shoe.
Yes, there is something called the GTX GPS shoe. Now, this is only available in adult sizes, so if somebody has to have an adult-sized foot to make these effective. but they are cheaper. The GPS unit is actually embedded into the heel of the shoe. So if you've got someone who's not going to like a bracelet, maybe they're going to try to pull it off all the time, but will wear their shoes, this might be an option. And it is cheaper. It's only $300. I hate the 99-cent thing. Plus a monthly tracking plan as well. And it works in the exact same way as the GPS bracelet in that you have the safe zone, location center is following. But again, the GPS only works while you have GPS signal. So if you're outside of a cell phone area or an area where GPS is not going to work for you, then these are not good tools. But in most city centers or even suburban areas, these are great tools.
Well, those are definitely some options. But here's another dilemma.
All right.
I have a cousin who has multiple sclerosis, and she's bedridden. Between her caregiver shifts, she's sometimes left alone. Is there some kind of device or system that would allow her to see and communicate with someone who is knocking at her door?
So she might know if it's the care provider or a door-to-door salesman.
She can't get to the door.
Got it. Got it.
No.
Actually, there is. This is actually not out yet. It's coming out in July of 2013 this year, and it's called a Doorbot. And what this does is it provides a video and audio preview of what's at your front door. So on the left picture, you see that there is a picture of the actual device which hooks up on the door frame next to the door, and there is a camera and there is a microphone feature on this picture. And then it sends the video and audio to your smartphone. So you can talk to and see who is at your door. And this will cost $189, and it provides the video and audio to your smartphone via Wi-Fi. And it can be paired with something that's also coming out called the Lockatron app, which could then make it so that you can remotely unlock your door using your smartphone. So this can not only be used now for someone who is in your cousin's situation, bedbound, but it can also be used when you're at a neighbor's house and someone comes to your door. You will be notified on your phone that someone's at your door, and you'll be able to see who it is and if it's something you need to deal with.
So remotely you can unlock it, or somebody's coming to feed your animals. Or
exactly. It has a lot of
applications.
Yeah, so it's kind of a nice tool to be aware of. But you know, speaking of families and safety, my mother is also older, and she does live alone. Now she's very independent. She gets around beautifully, but she does live alone away from family. And I myself get concerned about what would happen if she were in a car accident, or if she was out on the street and became unconscious in some way. How would people know who she is, who her contact people is, and if she has any medical issues quickly, because she doesn't live with anybody. There's no one to call at her home. And so when I was at CSUN, I saw these great, very low-tech tool called the MediPal Emergency Seatbelt ID. And it's a very simple solution, but it alerts others to, in a medical or an emergency, about what your contact information is, what any medical issues you might have. And what you do is you put the information inside this pouch, and then the pouch can Velcro onto a seat belt, a wheelchair belt, your own belt, and it's labeled with a big red cross, so it's easy to find.
So in that first picture, we see an
elderly man walking,
and he's got it on his belt.
Right. In the second picture, you can actually see a picture of the actual tool, which is just a black pouch with a big red cross on it, and it Velcros around together, and you put the information in that pouch. I thought, what a great, simple solution.
Well, it's a great solution for anybody.
Exactly.
If you're in an accident, you are unconscious, and you need to get your medical information or contact information out to the rescue team.
Yeah,
that's
fantastic.
Perfect.
Yeah, I thought that was really clever. So are there any questions about any of these tools so far on safety? Again, there will be time for sharing of tools you may have found at the very end, and I'm anxious to hear. But does anyone have any questions at this time? Okay, terrific. We'll move on to the next section.
Okay, so of course you're going to talk a little bit about the iPad, because there's still much excitement about the iPad. you rolling your eyes, but we do need to address maybe some accessories that could help some individuals with disabilities.
Well, okay. Well, again, I like simple and easy things. And at CSUN, I found something called an iKeyboard. And I thought, oh, how simple. I love it. It works on your iPad. And what it is an overlay that goes on top of the iPad in landscape view, and it would now allow touch typing on the iPad keyboard, and it's for $35. And why would this be useful? Well, for a lot of people, keyboarding is difficult on these touch devices because you're so used to resting your fingers down to keyboard in your typical QWERTY fashion, or maybe you rest your hands down or because of a tremor, or it's difficult, fatiguing for you, and your hands accidentally touch a lot, and so you get all these keyboard errors.
But you don't get any tactile
exactly. There's no tactile feedback. So this provides tactile feedback. It provides an opportunity for you to rest your fingers lightly on the keyboard. So it's a much more traditional keyboarding experience for those of us who, like me, who are old style. And it does take a little bit more force to hit and activate the keys because you're going through this membrane, but it can be very effective for a population who needs that sort of touch typing experience.
Right. And so in that picture, we're seeing a hand holding that the actual keyboard, the iKeyboard,
right,
on a landscape
view of the iPad. Yeah, so it's really kind of a nice little tool that I found at CSUN. Simple.
And it's quite affordable.
Very affordable. Another thing that I found that was big at ATIA, huge, was the RSL Steeper Perero plug-in switch access to your iPad. This was huge in January, huge, huge, huge. And now, of course, Zygo came up with a Zybox, which allows multiple switches but works on the same principle. So what does this mean? So now you have an option for switch access, another option, I should say, for switch access to your iPad using VoiceOver with plug-and-play technology. So the Perero plugs into the power, and the Zybox, they both plug into the power port of your iPad. So where you would plug in the power strip is where you would plug in the switch. Both of them automatically enable VoiceOver to start working because this is how they make it, the iPad switch accessible, is using the VoiceOver feature of the iPad. VoiceOver is the feature on the iPad that is built into the operating system traditionally for individuals who are blind. But here we're making it usable for switch users because it talks everything on the screen.
So as somebody's scanning each...
Right. As they hit the switch, it will go to the next item on the screen and say out loud what that item is. So now you plug the switch into the Perero or the Zybox. You hit the switch, it'll move to the next item and say what that is out loud using VoiceOver.
So that picture that we're seeing that
yes,
plugs directly
into the into the power port of your iPad on both of them. And with the Perero, you can use just one switch, but with the Zybox, it allows multiple switches using the VoiceOver. Having said all of that, if you need a switch and you're using an iPad, you really need to be thinking about what you're trying to do with the switch on the iPad.
I'm a little confused.
It's very confusing. There are two methods now of switch access on the iPad. There's the VoiceOver method, which is what the Perero and the Zybox provide. And that is nice because it works with all of the innate built-in apps that Apple provides on the iPad, as well as a lot of the other apps that work with VoiceOver, but they have to work with VoiceOver. Not all apps that you can get through the iTunes store work with VoiceOver. Be aware of that. Now, the other way of using a switch on an iPad is using a Bluetooth switch, like AbleNet or RJ Cooper has Bluetooth switches, and they work not with VoiceOver, but they work with like traditional keyboard commands, but over Bluetooth. And again, not all apps, very few apps, in fact mostly just communication apps, work with those switches. So, to really be confusing,
because you should face right now.
there is many of you may have heard of the Proloquo2Go full-featured communication app. This app works with both the voiceover and the Bluetooth switches. However, they just recently put in a new feature on their 3.0 version of their app that provides switch scanning options. So now you're not going one by one by one by one, which is what VoiceOver would allow only. But now you can do row and column scanning within the Proloquo2Go app. But it does not work with the VoiceOver switches. This feature only works with the Bluetooth switches. So the upshot of all of this is, if you need a switch on an iPad, think about what you need the switch to be able to do, what apps you're going to need to be able to work with it in, and make sure you match up the features to that individual user.
So
it's about as clear as mud, eh?
If you are considering a switch for an iPad, just call Debbie. Call Debbie. Don't buy anything until you call and talk to her.
Do your research. It's confusing.
It's complicated.
It really is. Until things get more custom, it's confusing. But I wanted you to be aware of the Perero and now the Zybox as well.
And that's a little picture of the Zygo in the corner.
The Zybox.
Oh, right. Zygo Zybox.
Yes.
For iOS with the little ports in there. Okay.
To add the different switches in. So another thing that I found, but this I didn't see at ATI or CSUN, this was at the big Apple conference they do in January in San Francisco, is something called Double Robotics, Wheels for Your iPad. Now many of you may have heard of similar things like this, like the Vigo, which is basically being able to use your computer for remote communication and moving around a robot basically remotely in a classroom or whatever for somebody who may be homebound due to being unable to get out in the community. But those units cost $5,000. They're very expensive. This unit is targeted to be about $2,000, and it uses iPads and to do basically the same thing. The unit raises from a height of 47 inches, which would be like a sitting height, all the way up to about 68 inches, which is like a standing height.
So the first picture is the sitting
height, and then you can go up to a standing height. And basically that moves the iPad, which is at the end of the unit, up and down so that you can stay eye level with the people that you are communicating with. And you will be using the feature like a Skype or FaceTime to then communicate with the people in your environment, see what they are doing, and they will then be able to talk to you. As you can see on the picture on the far right, it's a picture of the Double Robotics with the iPad talking to a young girl. And you can see the wheels are down at the very bottom. It's self-balancing, uses gyroscopic technology, if you need to know. And then the black bar and then the iPad is at her eye level. And she is talking to the gentleman via FaceTime. So this is a great tool for individuals who maybe, let's say, due to their illness or their medical condition, cannot be in a classroom or cannot be at the business, but they want to attend a meeting or they need to go to class and they want to have a classroom experience. You can get something like this cheaper than the Vigo, which was the other product similar that they can use at home, and they can remote, and it works through Wi-Fi, so the range is only whatever, as long as there's Wi-Fi on both ends, there is no range to it.
So there's a person at home
with an iPad,
with one of those, with the iPad,
right,
and the motorized robotic unit
is in the classroom or in
now, can that
business.
Can it? How does it know? Can it travel between
yes.
the classroom? How does it know?
You have a program on your iPad that you direct it.
You direct. Okay.
You move it yourself.
Wow.
On your own iPad.
Can it check to see who's at the door?
Absolutely, sure. You can raise it up to the height of the little thing and try to see through the little eye hole there.
And peer out?
Yep, okay. Absolutely. Wow. So it's kind of a nice thing that's coming out. It is bringing the idea of remote robotics for individuals who are more homebound for various reasons so that they can be out. which is lovely.
And I imagine it will go down in price as the technology, as all technology
to evolve. Exactly.
To advance.
And finally, I had to talk about these for iPad accessories because it's one of them, they're both through Amazon, and basically these are ways of using your iPad while you are using the restroom. One of them is called the iPotty, and this got a lot of buzz at the beginning of the year. And it's from Amazon, and basically it's a small portable child training seat, toilet seat, with an iPad holder on it. And the other unit is called the CTA Digital Pedestal Stand, and basically it's a stand that holds the toilet paper, and at the top is a place to put your iPad. So I don't know. What do you think, Janet? Is this really assistive technology or not?
Who am I to judge? It wouldn't be my first choice, but maybe my number 2.
Ha 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 ha. Oh, that was bad. That was so bad. But I guess maybe with the iPotty, if you have somebody who has difficulty staying focused and sitting still and they're engaged by something on the iPad, maybe.
You know, whatever the goal is,
right.
Go back to the goal. If this is one way to reach a goal,
yes.
Then why not?
Yeah, so we'll see. I don't know. Anyway, I had to throw that in there.
So maybe we should stop for some questions at this
point. Oh yeah, are there any questions about any of the accessories so far that I've talked about, stuff that's new for the iPad? Okay, terrific. We'll go ahead and move on to...
well, since you mentioned accessories, there are probably some apps that you want to talk about. I know there are thousands being released each day, and it is so very hard to keep up. So do you have just a few favorites you can share? And anything free, I know, is very appreciated.
All right. Well, what I kind of want to do is talk about reading support, and not just iPad apps, but electronic text in general and all the different varieties that are out there. There has just been a huge explosion in access to digital text with all the different apps and extensions, and I'll get into that in a minute, available, which really helps support those who have reading or print disabilities. And there's a lot of sources for free digital text, like bookshare.org for those who have a print disability. It provides free textbooks, K through, I think, 25 or 24, and then you can have a membership.
Yeah, the print disability is considered low vision?
Low vision, physical access to a book is difficult, and
dyslexia?
A dyslexia, specific learning disability that would make access to traditional books difficult.
Okay.
Okay. There's also Gutenberg.net, which anyone can get free classic books downloaded for free digital, as well as OpenLibrary.org, which is other free non-copyrighted text. And of course you can pay for digital text too through the iBook store on your iPad, through Amazon Books. You can search for by digital type. Through Google Play has a bookstore, K&O for textbooks. All of these are sources where you can purchase digital text. And why is this important? Because with the iPad in particular, there's a lot of built-in features that help support digital text for those who may have issues with regular print. There is the feature called Speak Select, which is built into your iPad. You can enable it in your general settings, and what that does then is when you click on, touch a word, and instead of saying just copy paste, you're also going to get the option to speak, and then you can expand that box to speak the text out loud as much as you want. And that's for most text on your iPad. Not all apps.
Within an app?
Yes, it works within the app, and that doesn't work in all apps, so you'd have to check and see, but it works in a lot of the apps.
And this is different than VoiceOver that you were talking about before.
Right.
Okay.
Yes. And iBooks also has highlighting and notes built into it, so you can take your notes right there with digitally or verbally. You can give an audio note right there within iBooks, so that you can then save your notes digitally as you're reading the book, which can make a lot easier to take notes of the text that you are reading. As well, of course, change your text size. That's built into iBooks as well as into the whole iPad itself. There's also a really great app called Voice Dream Reader. and it's not free, sorry, it's $9.99, but
Still affordable.
it's very affordable. It integrates with Bookshare, which Bookshare is available for Angel. You had a question if that's for K-12. Bookshare is available for K-12 school books with those with print disabilities. It also reads other sources, PDFs, other digital text types out loud. It highlights as it reads. It has an integrated timer. You can do bookmarks and notes within it, and it also translates. So this is a really full-featured, inexpensive app that works across multiple text versions. And it can be really nice to try out and play with. And as Shelley indicated, there is a light version of that out there that you can try to see if that is the right app for you. So it's kind of a nice thing. The other thing I wanted to talk about is if you are a Bookshare client, they do have an app available that called Read to Go. It's $19.99 that you have to buy the app for the Bookshare books. But now with it, they've just enabled it so that you can now download images as well as the text of the books if the images are embedded in the book. So there is a way of now doing that in the Bookshare app, Read to Go app. So if you do need the images along with the text, there is a way of doing that, and that is highlighted in several different places on the web. If someone needs that information, I can provide it later. Because I don't have that at my hand.
The image?
No,
it
just downloads the image so you have the picture as well as the text available to you.
See.
Before it was text only. So now you have the option of having the image as well, which is nice for textbooks as well as picture books and things like that. The other thing, though, that I wanted to talk about is the world is not all iPads. I know that's shocking. But what? There are some really nice Google extensions and apps also that support Universal Design for Learning with reading support. For example, Read Write, which is a free extension available that you can download for free in Google Docs on your Chrome web browser, is from a company called Text Help, which many of you may be aware of.
I've heard of them.
Yeah, and what this does is only works in Google Docs. It will not work on other not Google Docs things, but in Google Docs, it will read your sentences out loud. It will extract highlights to a separate document. It has a regular dictionary and a picture dictionary, all for free. Apparently they're thinking about coming up with an upgraded version, and it won't be free anymore. So I recommend you may want to take a peek at it now while it's still free to see if this might be something that is useful for you in Google Docs. Another thing that's available in the Chrome browser, again you have to have the Chrome internet browser going, is something called Speak It. And this is just a simple tool that you can click on in your Chrome, and it reads text out loud. It doesn't highlight as it reads, but it just reads out loud the text that is on the page.
Okay.
And that, again, can be very useful for those who need that reading support.
So Chrome, is that the same as a Chromebook?
Well, the Chromebook, let's talk about that now, because that's coming up. Actually, I just read yesterday there was a school that has purchased through IDEA funding over 100 Chromebooks for its students with learning disabilities in its middle school. So let's talk about the Chromebook, because it's coming up now. They're really positioning themselves to be a competitor with the iPad in the education world. People like the Chromebook because, one, it's inexpensive, relatively speaking, when you talk about an iPad versus a Chromebook. It uses Google products exclusively. So you cannot use any iPad stuff with it. You cannot use Microsoft Word with it. It won't work. It's Google products alone. And you have to, for the majority of the time, you have to be connected to the internet because everything is stored, quote unquote, in the cloud. So you're going to use Google Docs, you're going to use Google Email, you're going to use all these Google products, and everything's going to be up in the cloud.
Not on your computer.
You can save files to your computer, but not a lot. There's not a whole lot of room for that on the actual laptop itself or on the tablet itself, but you can save some things to the product itself. And they do have built into the Chromebook some tools for individuals with disabilities. One of them is called the Chrome Box. It's for those who are low vision. It works like JAWS as a full screen reader. It's not perfect. They're working on it. They have Chrome Viz for those who have low vision. That's built onto the Chromebook itself. And I am on the trusted accessibility panel for the Chromebook, and I've talked to them about enabling them to have an on-screen keyboard with word prediction on Chromebook itself, as opposed to an extension, which they do have those extensions out there, but they're not very good yet. So it's coming. I do think that the Chromebook is coming as a tool that we as AT practitioners need to be aware of what's available and know how to use the Chrome Cloud, Chrome browser, with all of its many extensions and apps for our individuals who need it. And as a side note, there is a website called the Chrome AT Toolbox. And if you could type this in for me, Janet, that'd be great. It's at sites, S-I-T-E-S,
S-I-T-E-S,
.google,
.com,
Google, typing is hard, .com, backslash, site, S-I-T-E,
S-I-T-E,
backslash G Chrome AT, A-T, backslash home. And this is the Chrome AT Toolbox website, where there are people who, gather the extensions and apps that can be useful in the Chrome browser for individuals with disabilities.
Okay, so all this apps, extensions, and
for the Chrome
stores,
right?
It's kind of like a whole other webinar,
right,
probably.
Right. Yeah. When you talk about Chrome versus Android, which, by the way, the Chromebook does not use Android apps at this time, only Chrome apps, which is different, although they're both made by Google. Go figure. Anyway, it's a bit of a quagmire.
Again, call Debbie. Any questions on that?
All right.
So speaking of questions,
anybody?
But not about Chrome. Any questions at this point?
Go ahead and raise your hand if you have any questions. Okay, terrific. We'll move on.
So how about we move on to computer access?
All righty, let's do that.
Let's see what we got here.
Well,
Well,
what's coming out and soon is something called the Leap Motion, and I'm really excited by this. Now, I have on the slide that it's available May 13th. And then after I submitted this PowerPoint, they sent me an email saying it's really not now going to be available until July 22nd. Sorry. And that's for the pre-order customers, of which I am one, of course, because I always have to have the coolest, latest, greatest stuff. But what I like about this provides gesture-based computing to your computer. You plug in a small device. There's a picture here, and you see a keyboard with a small rectangular silver device plugged into a USB port onto the monitor and a hand waving across it. That small, a little device is the Leap Motion controller. And you use your hand now to do touch-free access to your computer, to basically move your mouse around for you and click, and it becomes your mouse. And I'm really excited to see this. Now, in the San Francisco Bay Area, they're doing the big Maker Fair this weekend, and actually Leap Motion will be there on Sunday giving a talk and showing their product, using it to play music. On the computer. So I'm probably going to try to see how that works. But I'm really excited about this particular product for our individuals. I really can't wait to play with it. Can't use a traditional mouse. Maybe they have carpal tunnel, arthritis, what have you. This may be a great way of them accessing the computer. So I'll let you know how that goes as I play.
Okay, that's great.
Another one that does also provide touch-free access is through iGaze. And it's becoming iGaze is becoming much, much more affordable and portable. Something that's coming out is called, and Jorge, in answer to your question, it's the Leap Motion is not Mac only, it's Mac and PC. It's USB. The picture showed a picture of a Mac computer, so I can see where that would be confusing. But back to the NUIA iCharm. This is going to provide iGaze for those who have a Kinect system. Now the Kinect system costs $110 to buy a Kinect. It works with Microsoft Xbox products. So you have to have the Xbox product, you have to have the Kinect which is a gesture-based way of using your computer, hooked through your Xbox 360 product.
So is the Connect piece
the
on
Connect
the picture?
Yes, the Connect piece is the actual device that you're seeing, and on top of, snapped over top of the Connect is the actual eye charm. And this will make it so that the eyes are now moving the Connect product, which is really kind of cool. And the price point is $60. So if you have a Connect, you have the Xbox 360 for another $60, you're not going to have eye gaze. And with Connect, you can do internet, you can do games, you can watch movies, you can do a lot with the Connect system. It's kind of made that sort of a full-featured Xbox 360 product. And so now you can add eye gaze to that product system for a very inexpensive price. Right, and that's going to be available in August. Now I don't have one, obviously. I cannot tell you how well it works with the eye gaze.
But let's get one.
Yeah, there you go. Somebody want to donate one to our center? That'd be awesome. Another thing, though, that is coming out, and this is by a product company we know is very good to buy, is called the Gaze. This is targeted to come out in the fall, and what this is a product that is targeted to get eye gaze smaller and cheaper than what they have now, which is the PCI. And it's getting a lot of buzz because apparently it works very, very well. It does make it so that you can plug in eye gaze into any computer system, but you need to use the eye gaze along with a keystroke. So it's going to be eye gaze switch, eye gaze spacebar, eye gaze, to move things around. So they're pairing it with a switch or a keystroke. So be aware. So it's not total eye gaze, but it's going to be much cheaper product than their other product systems. Of course, they did not put out the price, so I could be wrong on that, but I'm hoping their hype is right, and it will be a lot cheaper. So I'm curious to see what that's going to look like.
Okay. And you have a link to a demo of that product?
Yeah, you can see the product demoed on the YouTube link that I've embedded into this slide. So you can see what that looks like. And then finally, this isn't new, but it's getting better and better, is the idea of using your EMGs, your muscle. Electron EMG is muscle movement, but it's actually not even movement. It's the electrical activity in your muscles to activate a computer. This is something that's been around for quite a long time. What's different now is it's become more affordable. Well, not really affordable, but it's becoming cheaper than it was, and they've paired it with Assistive Wear product system, which is a full-featured product system for switch and scanning. So now you can use electronic muscle generation to activate the computer in a very full-featured way. This is the NeuroSwitch G5 Liberator, and in the picture you see a picture of a laptop computer, and on the laptop you see Assistive Wear product being shown, which is a keyboard program doing switch and scanning. And then in front of the laptop you see the actual wireless NeuroSwitch G5 Liberator, and plugged into that you see the leads where you put that on your arm or wherever it is that you're doing.
Any part of your body?
Any part of the body that you can control the muscle, electric muscle movement of. And at ATIA, they had a gentleman who has SMA, which is spinal muscular atrophy. They had him use it to move a computer, not a computer, a robot. Around with his Assistive Wear and the Liberator. And he actually has a blog. His name is Michael, and he has a blog that you can find at www.lithiumcreations.com if you want to type that in. Lithium as in, I don't know what lithium is. Lithium battery creations.com. And he uses his NeuroSwitch Creations with an S.com, and he uses his NeuroSwitch Liberator with the Assistive Wear switch scanning software to maintain that blog. And he's really quite a remarkable individual, and he was at ATIA using this product system to move a robot around. So really incredible stuff coming out
I've
with
seen those
computer access.
exoskeletons
Yes.
also.
We'll talk about that in a minute.
Okay.
We'll talk about that in a minute.
That's good.
Now, is there anybody have any questions about anything we've talked about so far? Oh, we're not done yet. Okay, no one's raised their hand, so let's keep moving. Fantastic. So let's talk about what's coming up. The Google Glass. Okay, yes. Why would this have AT potential? You are now truly just wearing your computer. It is fully voice activated. It uses a little heads-up display with a little camera built onto it. It's got the Wi-Fi and the Bluetooth. It uses bone conduction transducer, which transmits the audio to the wearer's inner ear via the bones in their skull. So it's not like a hearing aid. It's even more. So some people with hearing problems may actually be able to use this and be able to hear better than through their hearing aid. It's not going through the eardrum. It's going through the ear bone, which is different. There is an app within the glasses that you use to control the glasses with your voice. It holds 16 gigabytes of memory. And think about the potential uses for this. One person has put out the idea of maybe using Google Glass to drive your wheelchair by voice using the Google Glass. Another person put out the idea with a GPS and having it talk through to an individual who is blind or low vision. Right there, your GPS is built into your glass. You say, Google Glass, take me to wherever, and GPS will
turn right,
guide you there. Right. I mean, just think about the potential. Now, how much will it be? The idea of $1,500 has been thrown around. We don't know. When will it be released? I don't know. They're keeping that very much under wraps. But it has the potential, so I wanted to make sure we talked about the Google Glass. It also has, you know, of course, a lot of people concerned with the video, audio being right there on your eyes. So privacy issues are coming up and that sort of thing. But I think there's a lot of potential to the Google Glass.
In that picture, yes. What are we seeing? In
the picture you see a woman wearing the Google Glass, and you've got 3 pictures embedded. The first picture says, oh, you know, subway line is out of order, as she's looking at the subway. The second picture is a map of another alternate route she can take, a Google map of an alternate route she can take to get to where she was going to go. And the third picture is a picture of her flipping through her photo album to look for visual representations of something. I'm not sure what.
Oh, okay.
So these are all just some
different
ideas.
Ways that you could use
exactly. So kind of interesting. But something else that's coming up that's kind of interesting and cool are the idea of smartwatches. And there's some that are actually coming out soon. For example, the Neptune Pine. It's a full-featured Android-based phone, camera, and internet, and it's all on your wrist. And this is going to be out in the fall-winter time of this year. It's going to be $335 for 8 gigabytes of memory on your watch. And it's your watch, it's your email, it's your internet, all there on your wrist, so you'd wear it. And when you're not activating the phone, you're not activating the internet, it looks like a watch. And so the picture,
and it's lightweight?
And it's lightweight, right? It's lightweight and it's full-featured. So that's coming out. But the other thing that you see the picture of is actually the Pebble. It's a Bluetooth-based watch. You do need a smartphone to pair it with that you could wear in your pocket. But what the Pebble does is, and you can see in the picture right now, it looks like a sport watch with a time on it. But when your phone in your pocket or your backpack is ringing, you will see an alert on the Pebble, and you can then talk through the Pebble phone to either answer the phone or put the phone, or not answer the phone, to answer an email, not answer an email. Whatever you decide you want to do, you can do right there on your wrist without having to pull out the phone. And I'm thinking this is a really neat tool for a lot of individuals. For example, my son uses a power wheelchair. His smartphone right now is right there, visible for all to see. And in the San Francisco Bay Area where we live, there's a lot of smartphone theft.
True.
Now he could hide his smartphone in his backpack where it's not so visible, have his smart watch on, the Pebble, for example, and he'll be able to answer a phone off his wrist.
That's a great
How
idea.
clever is that, right? So that's something to be aware of also. And I see that Rosemarie's got her Pebble Watch on order, huh? You'll have to let us know how it works.
Wow.
And also, the Apple iWatch is a rumor, so we'll see if that actually happens, but they're talking about actually making a watch that is simply a product of Apple,
okay,
which would be interesting. So some other upcoming interesting things that are happening is the idea of mind-controlled exoskeletons. By mind-controlled, generally they're referring to EMG control. So by mind-control, that's what they mean by EMG. So it's the idea of taking like the idea of the Liberator, the EMG leads, and now you can control an exoskeleton. And so in the first picture, we have a picture of the Mindwalker project. And this is a project that the military is now funding. It was a project that was a university project before, and now the military has taken over funding for it. And you see a picture of somebody without their face with this huge exoskeleton around their body. And they have, it looks like they have paralysis. I'm not sure what level paralysis, but they are walking with this exoskeleton on, and they are controlling the movement of the exoskeleton. There have been exoskeletons created before where you have somebody behind following with a laptop.
Right,
and they're
controlling.
Right, you saw that as so somebody behind is making that person with a paralysis walk using their laptop. This is where the actual individual themselves is using their own body to walk, to control the exoskeleton. So think about that. They're using their mind, the EMGs, to control the exoskeleton. And there's actually an actual case now where there's a robotic arm that a woman with paralysis in her arm is able to use with her mind to control the arm. So it's coming, and I'm very excited by that because it truly makes the idea of an exoskeleton independent, which I love that idea. Okay, and then
the 3D printers.
Yes, 3D printers. Oh yes, this is coming out big. Again, coming back to the idea of exoskeleton. Think about a 3D printer, which now is becoming more and more available. Pretty soon you're going to be able to buy a 3D printer through Staples, and it's called the Cube. It's actually going to be available through Staples, so any home user can now have a 3D printer. And there was actually a family in, I think it's somewhere in England or the UK area, that created WREX, exoskeleton arms made with 3D printers. So now this is fully customizable, and you see a picture of this young girl with these exoskeleton arms to support the weight of her arms, because she has paralysis, condition that causes so that she cannot move her arms, and she's now able to support the weight of her arms and draw pictures and whatnot. And they created these exoskeleton arms using a 3D printer. So they can be customized and grown with her quickly, easily, cheaply. Okay. And so think about customization of tools. Right, for support for her. But think about the customization of tools now you're going to be able to do with these 3D printers.
Right, for your wheelchair.
For the wheelchair, for pencil grips. You can really customize a pencil grip to what your needs are. I mean, the idea of what you can do with a 3D printer is really limitless in a lot of respects.
The cost of the 3D printers?
We'll have to go to Staples and see. I'm not sure.
Maybe Rosemary will order one.
But they had a whole section at the XSSW conference, which is a big conference they do down once a year in Austin, Texas, or somewhere like that. And I have a link to it. It's called panelpicker.sxsw.com, and it talks about, this whole panel talked about 3D printing and the applications for individuals with disabilities. So it's a really fascinating talk on the idea of using 3D printers and how that can really customize and make things easy to use for individuals with disabilities.
And so that link is at the bottom of the slide.
It's at the bottom of the slide. Okay. So that's kind of interesting.
Very interesting.
South by Southwest, thank you. I was trying to remember what it stood for. So some other upcoming cool things that are coming out is the idea of using audio-based gaming to help individuals who are blind navigate in the real world. So now we're taking the idea of video games and making it so that somebody can actually use a video game, go through a virtual video game, and then translate that into the physical world. So we've got a series of 3 pictures to try to explain what I'm talking about. The first picture is a picture of a virtual map of a building, and you see a yellow line, which is the line that the individual has used to get through the building from point A to point B. The second picture is that same individual is now translating that information into the real building itself. So you have an individual who is walking away from us who has a cane in one hand to actually navigate the physical building. And the third picture is a picture of a 2-story building now, 2 road maps with a start point and an end point with the 2 different. And what this study found was that doing this really helped individuals who were blind be able to navigate in the real world better and faster. So there's some real practical things.
So they train first.
Exactly, and then they go into
the game.
Right.
They translate that into the physical world.
Right, so that makes their life easier. Something else to kind of go along with the idea of gaming that I didn't really put in here is kind of along with this. There was also another recent study that came out which showed how seniors using a video game called Road Tour, which I guess is now actually called Double Decision. Anyway, seniors who used this particular video game for 10 hours minimum had an increase in their executive functioning skills of 3 years. That's pretty powerful.
Wow.
That's a video game that anyone can purchase now. So this is the idea of translating, video gaming into the real world for real world benefit. And that's just another example of how that can really help. So video games can be good.
Okay. We'll remember that when
Yes.
we see our children playing
Right.
for hours and hours. Now here's something very cool, Deb, that I thought was very interesting and definitely had some applications for people with disabilities or any vulnerable population. On the left-hand side of the slide here, you see a picture of a woman's slip. On the right-hand side, there's a circuit board. The story, as posted on the link that you see here, is about a team of engineers in India who, due to the increasing amount of rapes against women, decided to design an electrified undergarment that would fight off sexual assault. So basically what this does is provide, and Debbie's laughing here, but think about it. Think about it. It is something that I think has a lot of applications.
It does. I just there's too many jokes going through my brain right now.
This will provide a shock to the assaulter, yet at the same time will protect the individual. So thinking about our vulnerable populations who can't fend for themselves.
That's true.
I think that it could be a useful tool. So I'm happy to see that that's people are thinking about designing garments that are for protection and for safety. And the Indian government is also in the process of developing a wristwatch that a person who's the victim to send out a signal or an alert when they're being assaulted. So just some food for thought there.
That's interesting.
Yeah,
okay.
I think.
I'll try to get my mind out of the gutter. It's pretty good.
So moving right along.
It's your turn. We want to know what you have found that you think has applications for assistive technology, or that you saw that was really cool that we forgot to mention or did not mention. Again, this has all just been in our humble opinion without what's coming out, but we want to hear what you found. So we're going to go ahead and turn off our mic and give you guys a chance to let her rip. Speak up. We want to hear. Okay, so what we have is I do have something to add. Tabai just launched a new series of eye gaze devices yesterday. Oh, the eye series. It has a huge battery life. Well, that's good to know.
Very good to know.
Awesome. I wonder if this is similar to the product, or maybe it's a precursor to the product that I was showing. Yeah.
That other eye gaze, the cheaper one?
Yeah. So it's called the eye series. All right. So we'll have to keep an eye out for that. The battery life is huge. Wow. With 10 to 13 hours of continual usage, that's big. That's very big. That really makes things.
Big advancement.
And it's called i2go. Okay, so I will definitely take a look at that. Thank you. Very good information. I didn't know about that one. So we just talked to them. Did they mention it? The rep?
No.
Of course not.
didn't hear about it. Oh,
okay.
Okay.
Here's another one. Okay, and this is Tap Tap See. Lets you take a picture with your device and get a suitable description in just a few seconds. Blah, spoken by iOS's VoiceOver. TapTapSee uses a combination of a database algorithm and crowdsourcing to identify images and return the most useful information. Oh, that's very clever. More than 10,000 people have downloaded in the first 3 months of 2013. Wow. And it won the Royal National Institute of the Blind's App of the Month Award for March. The reviews are quite positive. TapTapSee. I'll have to write that down. Let me take a look at that. Thank you. That's very good information. And here we have the PCI Go is now available for $3,900, which is cheaper. Fabulous. Yes, and Rosemary came up with, yes, I heard about this yesterday too. I was recently informed that Sony developed glasses for the deaf, hard of hearing to use in movie theaters. It's 3D glasses with captions that appear at the bottom.
Oh, that is very cool.
It's actually going to be rolled out into Regal Cinemas starting next month. Regal Cinemas, yeah. So look for those in the Regal Cinema chain. So yes, I've heard about that too, Rosemary. It just came out, so very good. Wow, and so the product, the PCI Go, does not require external keystrokes. It is just the eye gaze only, so it is not the same product. Okay, fabulous, good, and that is cheaper, $3,900. These prices are coming down, which is really good to see. Fantastic. Anything else? I think we're good. Thank you. Well, thank you so much. If anyone else does have other things, please feel free to type it in. I'd love to find out more. Oh, wait, here's one we missed. Quixie. Oh, yes, Quixie.com. It's a new search engine for apps that monitors blogs, tweets, review sites, and articles in order to find out what each app can do. Yes, I've heard of Quixie. I've used it actually too. You can search by type of device and free versus paid. You can search for Chrome extensions and apps, add-ons for Firefox, Safari, and Internet Explorer. It will find web apps and Salesforce apps as well. You search by function such as text-to-speech, enlargement, or augmentative and alternative communication. Yes, I love Quixie. It's a fabulous. Thank you for bringing that one up. Love, love, love that one. Thank you. And Quixie outshines the iTunes App Store, I agree, which is not a surprise, but it is still not the only search utility you need for apps and extensions. It's worth using now and may get even better. I totally agree. Thank you. Okay, Wei had a question. Is there any devices that I mentioned that are paid for by Medi-Cal? The eye gaze systems, if you're using them for alternative augmentative communication, might be paid for by Medi-Cal as a speech prosthetic. The exoskeletons may be paid for as prosthetics as well, but they're still in the experimental stage, so good luck. You'd have to really make your case. Beyond that, with Medi-Cal, and medical insurances, what they're looking for is medical, it has to fall in the category of durable medical equipment, DME. And most computer access tools do not fall into the medically necessary category. Even though I think using a computer is extremely important in today's day and age, it's not medically important. You'd have to be able to make a case that it is. So that's a really good question, but there are other funding sources out there. And I know that the AT Network has done a lot of different webinars that are archived that talk about the different funding sources that are available for assistive technology. So feel free to search their archives and maybe there'll be some information you can pull out on their websites. Okay? That's a good question. Any other questions at this time or comments? We have one other. So thank you for your attention. I hope we were able to give you a flash of what's out there. And again, if something comes up, please share with the rest of us, okay? We all love to hear what's newest, the latest and greatest.
Right.
Okay?
It will be this presentation will be archived, and I believe Rosemary can also send you
we'll
the
send
PowerPoint.
you the link. Okay? So thank you all for your attention. We enjoyed being here.
Thank you.